This is Agronomy Moment. I'm Wendell Cohen.
Hey guys, welcome back everybody to Agronomy Moment. We're out here standing in the plot. We're just going to go over some of the new exciting numbers we've got going on. Just kind of cover over those and get you all up to date on that, as well as talk about a few things we're seeing in the field to be aware of. Some of this stuff's pretty common stuff, but it's all worth a reminder. So anyway, all right, first number here we're going to look at here with Scott is 6241Q. Scott, what's your thoughts here on this new product we got?
Well, you know, when you look at our lineup over the last few years, we have a very strong lineup from that 112, 108, 110 later, and this is going to be just another additional product for that lineup to strengthen it in terms of its ability to handle a wide range of acres. You know, it looks like it's going to be a fairly tough product for us. It's going to have the ability to hit lower end acres as well as some higher end. It's going to be a product that we utilize to take some acres away probably from 6282 eventually. You know, 6282 has been a standby top 5 product for us for some time now, and 6241 coming into our lineup is going to be a great addition. It is a chrome product, so it does have protection for above and below ground pests. You know, typically we focus primarily on the above ground pests in our geography, but this does provide us protection for both. And so far what we've seen is, I'm going to call it average to a little above average on emergence, but as you can see next to it, the 6282 has a more rapid early season growth, but in general we're not seeing any issues with 6241 at this point in terms of stand establishment and just early uniformity.
Yeah, that's interesting. And just basically, just to clarify we're looking here at 6241 here on the left right now, and 6282 is kind of on the right, just as a quick comparison.
Yeah, and 6282 would be kind of the standard for early growth and emergence within our lineup. So when you see other products compared to it, it's easy to kind of get a feel for how they're going to perform in the early season environments.
Yep, exactly. Now moving on here, we're starting here on the left-hand side, by the way. Left-hand side here, 6374, and I'm moving across it 4 rows and being between 6374 and 6414. Boy, that plane's loud overhead. Hope he's having a good day on a cloudy day. I wouldn't think it'd be much fun to leisure fly today. But anyway, 6414 here on the right, 6374 on the left. Seen it just a little bit last year. What's your take, Scott, on some thoughts?
6374 is a great addition to our lineup. You know, we've had a lot of good utilization of 6274 over the last couple of years, and 6374 was new last year. And what we found with it, basically, just to put it simply, is an improved version of 6274. 6274 came out as a high yield product, but over time we found it's performed very well under stressful conditions. 6374 brings those same characteristics to the table for us. But everything that 6274 does, 6374 can do a little better, whether we're talking emergence, whether we're talking disease tolerances, yield. 6374 just all around is an improved version of the 74 family in the same maturity roughly that we would have had with 6274.
Yep, and I like to say too that uniformity, like you mentioned, is really good. It just looks really tabletop on it as it's coming up here out of the ground. So moving on down the way, another product I want to look at here to compare with 6414 is 6438BZ. It's from the Syngenta camp, and I'm really excited about it. Tell us about it too, Scott.
6438 again is going to be a fairly widely adapted product. You know, when we look at our lineup, 6414 is our dominant product within our lineup. We have highest sales in the state of Missouri with 6414 in terms of our corn lineup, and you know, it's sure not going to hurt us to have another 114 option to bring into the lineup with some good wide adaptation to environment. That brings us just a little different flavor coming from the Syngenta camp to allow us some other options of products to look at. Emergence on it's been very similar to 6414. It'll be interesting to watch this one grow, because agronomically and yield level wise, it looks like it's going to have a great fit across a broad geography for us.
Very good. Let's move on to down the way here to some more of what I'm interested to let you in on is some of the trait packages. I think these are good fit products too, but wanted to point them out because they're new. And they've got an exciting new trait package that we've only seen from Syngenta, and now we can see it from some of these other brands. So here's 6674, and I'm going to plop myself right between 6674 and 6774 on the right. And as you can already have known, the 74 denotes the family. So these two are coming from the same family. Scott, tell us a little bit more though why 6674 differentiates just a little bit from the 117 day.
Well, the 6674 coming from the Bayer camp is going to be a Tricepta product. So we're going to have the mirror gene added for above ground protection of things like corn earworm and a little improvement in black cutworm control. So pretty excited to have a Viptera based trait package in a product in this maturity range for us to give us good earworm protection, especially as we move further south into southwest Missouri. 116 day 74 family looks very good for us. It's going to bring typical 74 family characteristics of good grain quality, pretty good toughness, but also some higher end yield potential. So expect to see some good things out of this one, particularly for the higher end yield ground, maybe under pivot in that 116 maturity.
Yep, very good. So that's TRE, Tricepta. Here we're going to move over here to Corteva's counterpart on the other side of 6774. If you're following in this video, on the left-hand side is 6774. We just jumped over here a few rows, and on our right is the 6743 AML. Tell us a little bit about that, Scott.
The 6743 is going to come from the Corteva camp, and it is a Leptra product, which also has Viptera gene in it. So again, we're going to have protection from things like corn earworm, black cutworm improvement. And
it's the same technology as Tricepta?
Yep, there'll be differences in herbicide tolerances between those two families, but in terms of the trait package for insects, you would have very similar insect protection packages with both of those hybrids.
Gotcha.
What I like about 6743, it's kind of on that racehorse side of things, 117 day high yield product, be good for under pivot or very high yield level ground, but it brings very strong emergence and just a very nice product. We've had historically a product called 6622 that we've seen utilized under pivots down in this part of the country, and to me 6743, like we said earlier, was 6374. The 6743 is kind of an improved version of 6622. So better disease packages, very high yield potential, big girthy ear, and under pivot it's shined really well for us.
Yep, absolutely. That kind of covers a few of the highlights I wanted to go over. We're going to keep mentioning these so you're used to them and understand the numbers. And now we're going to jump on down to this plot that we had. We planted an earlier by what you're seeing out here. And we're going to jump down and take a look at that earlier planted corn, as well as maybe some other interesting things we're doing out here, and jump on a little bit on the agronomy side. We'll catch you here in a... We're here down here on this earlier corn. It's been planted earlier when it was right ahead of the snow. Scott, tell us a little bit about what we're seeing in the corn from early.
So a lot of things the last few weeks as I walk corn, we're starting to get into some corn in particular. You look at this corn here, and this is roughly V4 corn. You got 4 open collars on these plants, it appears from here. Yes, it's V4 corn, and what we're finding in a lot of fields is a lot of internode stacking due to the cool, wet weather we've experienced since some of this early corn was planted. So in general, you know, we're going to have a lot of plants that are a lot further along developmentally, physiologically, than what they would appear based on their height. So as we move into guys getting back into the fields to post herbicide their corn, they're going to have to be very cognizant of what the growth stage is. You know, many herbicides have a cutoff of around V6, sometimes V7, V8, depending on what product you're looking at. And so make sure that if you aren't comfortable with growth staging your corn accurately, that you get a little help with that, because we are going to have a lot of corn that's relatively short for its stage of development this year. And so we could have some folks getting into trouble with applying herbicides that may be past the cutoff for those particular growth stages. Another thing to keep in mind is any field that was frosted off or hailed off, if we've had any hailed off fields, is those fields did not lose their stage of development when they were hailed off or frosted off at the ground. We have to keep in mind that any new growth is on top of the growth stage that crop was at when it lost that top growth. So you could have a field that was totally frozen off, that was at V2, and now that it's grown up, if it has 2 or 3 leaves, it's probably more like a V5 or 6 plant instead of back to a V2 or V3, if that makes sense. And we'll have some more information here, I think Wendell's going to share with you, that will help you with growth staging.
Yep, that's right. We made a video last year on how staging corn and how to cut it open later when you're concerned about the herbicide piece, and I'll play that now.
So there's the V5 node there, so there's the first. I'm going to cut a little further in here. Got my knife sharp last night for this. Yeah, you can see it. You can see that.
It's one of the trademarks of our agronomist, is a sharp knife.
There's the first 4.
Back off the light just a little bit. There we go. That's about right.
There's the first 4 to there.
That's that dark. Is that dark?
Is that what you're talking about?
Yep.
The first
this
four?
woody area. That's
Yes.
the crown. That'd be the first 4 nodes.
Yep.
And then the first internode elongation to the V5 node.
Yep.
And it's also interesting to look at this. You can see each whorl of each new leaf has a whorl of nodal roots associated with it. So each one of these nodes will have a whorl of nodal roots, and you should be able to see on this 5th node, if we can get the leaf sheaths off, you can see where the
There's actually the ear.
root initiates are.
Isn't that the shucks for that first ear?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
No, well, yeah, there it is. There's an ear sheet right there. Mm-hmm.
And
So-
what about the, so you peeled off that there, and I know you talked about this in the past, how you peel off that leaf sheath to find where, how do you know that you're not grabbing a hold of the first 5 leaves
So
when you're pulling off? Like, how are you doing that?
So in this case, we have a V5 plant, we know, because we were able to find that on some of the other plants that the plumule leaf was still attached. But in this case, you know, when you get to V5, V6, we start shredding off the lower leaves, and you can
Right.
see that here, and they're being destroyed. So at that point, it's difficult to just count leaves to find your accurate leaf staging.
Yep.
And so in this case, this would be your V5 leaf right here. And so what you do is you find where this leaf sheath, you come down, you peel all the older leaves off because they don't matter anymore. And this is the uppermost open leaf collar on this plant.
So you start at the most mature leaf collar,
Yep.
the one that's fully developed.
Yep, find the uppermost
auricle.
open leaf collar, which you can see right here where the leaf sheath
Yes.
is open, where the leaf attaches.
Okay.
In this case, it's not open yet on the next leaf up. It's still
Yes.
down in the leaf sheaths, but in this case, you have an open leaf sheath. So you find where this one is attached.
Yep. Okay, that's what I was wondering, how you know where to start.
So I'm getting all the older leaves out of the way. They don't matter anymore. So here's the uppermost open leaf collar. Find where that leaf sheath is attached down here. Oops, I broke it off. This corn's getting pretty brittle. And you can see that right here, it's going to be attached right there at that node. This plant is a little nicer. So that leaf sheath that we just peeled off, that
Yes.
uppermost open collar, was attached to this node right here.
That's
And
right.
so there's the first 4, there's the inner node, and then the 5. And that's
Okay.
where that leaf sheath is attached.
So that's a
associated with
V5
that.
leaf. And then let's say we get on to V10 eventually, and you're out there, we dig up the same thing, and then we go up to the most developed collar.
Yep.
And then we come down there and we
Same
find
process.
this woody area, and that's a V.
That's
5.
the first 4, and
First
then
4.
5, and then wherever that.
And then we count up to that where that connected.
Yes.
That node.
Yep.
Okay. That's where I was always getting mixed up, is where to start. Where
Yep.
that first fully developed leaf collar.
Once you know where all the first 4 nodes are, it's easy from that point on.
Yes.
If you find the uppermost open collar, find where its leaf sheath is attached to the stalk.
Yes.
And then count up from those 4, and you'd be 5, 6, 7. You know, they start elongating further
Yes.
as you go.
Okay. That's cool. That was really a question I had, exactly how
At
that
this
works.
stage, it's a little tough yet because they're still 5 and everything's
Yep.
small. And it's a little harder to see. You get to 6 and 7, it'll start getting easier and easier to tell where you're at.
All right, guys, that's from last year. And 2 more things before we call it a close. Keep an eye out for cutworm if you're not spraying already. Most of the time, not an issue. Once in a while, it can be. So keep your eyes peeled for those in your fields. Second is, we're entering a phase where corn could get ugly, potentially, and go through rapid growth phases where you see it getting twisted up inside itself, and some of that roping and so on. Usually a non-issue, but it could look ugly for a bit. Anyway, that's it for this time. This is Agronomy Moment. Hey, this is Wendell Cohen, show host and producer. If you need help with your operation, go to topagservices.com/signups to receive alerts. Thank you to all those who made this show possible. This show is over. See ya.